In this lesson, we will learn how to divide fractions, whole numbers, and mixed numbers. When you're dividing fractions, you can't divide fractions along with whole numbers or mixed numbers. So, we have to change those numbers. Now, that doesn't mean when you have a problem such as 12 divided by 3, all of a sudden you have to start changing those numbers into fractions. We don't need to change 12 divided by 3 into 12 over 1 and 3 over 1 because we know how to solve that problem. So it's good just like it is. Also, when you look at 2/3 divided by 4/5, both of those numbers are in fraction form. So again, we don't need to change the form of those numbers. They are good just like they are. When we move on to the third problem, though, we have 1/2 divided by 6. We have a mixture of fractions and whole numbers. In this case, we have to make sure the whole number is changed to a fraction. And the easiest way to do that with whole numbers is just to put a 1 underneath the whole number. In doing that, it's still equal to 6, but it's written in fraction form. Then we move over to the mixed number divided by 2/3. When you look at a mixed number, we can also change that to fraction form by making it an improper fraction. To do that, you can think of the 1 in this case as 2/2. That's still equal to 1, but we've written it as 2/2. Plus, it also has 1/2 with it. So when we put those two things together, didn't mean to do that. When we put those two things together, we have 3/2. So 1 and 1/2 can be rewritten as 3/2 divided by 2/3. Once we've done that, we are now ready to move on to the next step. The second step in dividing fractions is to find the reciprocal of the second fraction. The simple term for that means to flip it over. So here's a demonstration. If you have 2/3 divided by 4/5, 4/5 is your second fraction. We need to find the reciprocal, which means flip it over. So it becomes 5/4. In the next one, 6 is your second so-called fraction. Well, it's not a fraction yet. So remember that we have to change the 6 to 6 over 1 to make it a fraction. That's just changing the form of it. That's not finding the reciprocal. Our next step, once we've changed the form to fraction form, then we find the reciprocal, which would make it 1/6. And in the last problem, our second fraction, which in this case right now is a mixed number, is 1 and 1/2. So first we have to make it into a fraction form, and in the last slide we changed one just like this that became 3/2. Again, that is not the reciprocal. All you've done so far is change the form into an improper fraction. Now we can flip it over and it becomes 2/3. That is the reciprocal. Don't get messed up with just because you rewrite it in a different way thinking that that is the reciprocal. You have to actually see it physically flip over before you can say that you've written the reciprocal. Okay, we're now to our last step, which is changing the problem to multiplication and then following the multiplication rules from here. Okay, so first, let's review. We have to make sure that we've changed everything to fraction form. So in the problem that I've given you, everything is in fraction form. The second step is finding the reciprocal of the second fraction, which means 4/5 needs to flip over and become 5/4. And the last step is to change the problem to multiplication. Aren't we happy that we don't have to divide? Yes. And the first fraction always stays exactly like it started. We don't do anything with that. And now that we're here, we've already learned to multiply. And we just multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators, and then simplify. So 2 times 5 is 10. 4 times 3 is 12. Both of those numbers can be divided by 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And that is our simplified answer. If you're having trouble with multiplication, you can go back and watch the video about how to multiply fractions.